Welcome to Happy Today podcast. This is a podcast for those who want to improve service experience of internal services. If you use ServiceNow or other enterprise service management system, then this is for you. Today we are recording an episode with Sami Kallio, our CEO, and I'm Pasi Nikkanen, our Chief Product Officer. I guess in this episode we actually got a question through Twitter. So can you explain what it was?
It was really relevant question coming from Joe, the IT guy. He was asking us how to create a business case for employee experience measurement. And for me, this question itself it's really intriguing because it's in a way it shows that challenges us in a way that in fact we don't think that you can do a business case for only measuring employee experience. You have to think about this as to be a way to prove the outcomes what you did in all over your IT, especially of course in service management, but in digital transformation and all that. So what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's more like the business case for the employee experience itself. And the measurement part is just the part that actually justifies and shows you and proves that did you succeed or not.
Yeah, 2 points, proves what you did and also point you your problems where you should be more innovative and find the problem areas. But today we are talking about anyway business case of employee experience.
Yeah.
And you spent it some time to find out different surveys about this area because of course we have our own point of view, but we are kind of small player. But you found something from Deloitte.
I went through and I actually found a really new report from Deloitte 2019. And they said that one of the biggest challenges we identified this year is the need to improve what is often called the employee experience. And this is something you start to hear more and more. And maybe a little summary from that report was that 84% of the respondents actually rated this issue as an important one. 28% identified as one of the top 3 most urgent issues in 2019. But the interesting thing was that only 9% believed they were very ready to address this issue. And I think that also kind of highlights and underlines Joe's question of how do you actually make the business case. I think people now, they start to understand, they start to believe. Now they just need ways of how do we actually justify this, how do we make this as a business critical thing.
And also kind of to make it practical, how you start to do things, because I think we had a survey last year with SDI that pointed out about the same kind of percentage that this is so important area.
Yeah.
And so many people are thinking that they are not there yet.
True.
But I think it's like everybody's planning to do, and I hope we can with this episode maybe help a bit how to start doing things.
Yeah.
But you also found another one, MIT?
Yeah, it was actually referred by Deloitte. It was actually a MIT research from 2017. And they had made a survey about employee experience and also how they defined employee experience. It was like things that make complex work more easy. That is like how it is. It wasn't anything to do about employee engagement or HR or anything like that, but actually what is the experience at workplace with complex tasks and so on. And they divided the respondents into three quartiles, and they compared the top quartile and the bottom quartile. And what they found was the companies on the top quartile had twice the innovation, double the customer satisfaction, and 25% greater profitability. And those are pretty amazing numbers.
Yeah,
and thinking about MIT, it is not just some marketing or some vendor that made a report, but they actually did it with the proper research.
I think kind of it's also in a way scary if you combine these two researches, that how few are thinking they are doing well, and then that kind of results like 25% in more business outcome. That's there must be something to be done in this area to really get better. I think in the MIT, I love 2 things. It was talking very much about the motivation of people and what motivates them really in work, that they have to feel valuable for the environment where they work. And the other thing was that it really was talking much about CIO's role in the change, that what CIOs have to be doing and what is their kind of a they support the whole change and how valuable and how needed that is.
Yeah.
And I think that's, of course, one really big challenge for CIOs who are seen as technical people. Okay, not
True.
all of them,
True.
but now they have to be people leaders.
Yeah.
And that's a change.
And I think there were like 4 steps, and maybe these are the things that IT managers or CIOs should kind of, or they were kind of recommending how to start tackling this issue. The first one was, I think what we and most of the listeners are dealing with is delivering outstanding employee-facing digital capabilities. So if you think like ServiceNow making work better and what else, you have chatbots, automation. So you always try to bring the technology to actually create outstanding capabilities. But then the second was actually to create the channels to continue identifying employee friction points. And I think this is the topic, maybe what Joe is also asking, like the measurement part. So I think this is what we are addressing as a company, is how do you actually identify the friction points? How can everybody agree that this is the next step that we need to improve? This is the next place. So yeah, I guess that kind of ties in nicely to Joe's question. Then the 3 and the 4 were like design accountability for maintaining focus on employee experience. And I know this one Finnish CIO who always brings his service owners to the room and asks them, so how is your service doing? And then shows it from the dashboard if they don't know. Yeah. So kind of you need to take it from the CIO level to make sure that you all the time are asking what is the employee experience on all your services. Otherwise, it is not seen as an important thing. If you ask about budgets and uptimes and how much can you save more from your service, then employee experience doesn't have any business value. And I guess the last one, communicate the strategic significance of employee experience initiatives. So this probably ties into digital transformation and that kind of things, that actually what all the things that you're doing it because of employee experience.
Yeah, because of some change. I think it is too often still kind of IT project, whatever project they are, if you talk to the project manager of the kind of, or the owners of the project and make a question to them, what is the target of this project?
Yeah.
If they answer to September 15th, something is totally wrong.
Yeah.
If they are not even able as a leader of the project say, no, we are changing this and this for the customer, or we are changing this for our users, then something is totally wrong.
This time it sounds like we need to do a totally own episode about digital transformation and why you're doing it. But hey, this was a little bit something we found from research point of view, but you go a lot in events, you talk a lot with our customers, with CIOs. So what are the concrete things, or how can you actually start doing this in your opinion?
Yeah, I can talk about how to really do the business case base of the data that we collect, but I'd first like to still reference to the discussion we just had, because one from those events, we were having an event with SDI in UK, and Dean Underwood from Virgin Trains was talking, and I think what they did in Virgin Trains with John Sullivan, their CIO, and Dean, how they start every project is exactly what this, it's kind of really practical thing to go in this direction that MIT is now proposing. They start all projects by doing a kind of a imaginary news article.
Yeah.
What is the outcome of this project?
Lovely. Yes.
And that kind of that puts the right mindset. Yeah. It's not 17th of September. It is something that they want to communicate to the users after the project is done and what they achieved by it. So it's totally different mindset. Yeah. And I think the points you listed just from 2 to 4, they are all about this kind of approach.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
But hey, in kind of the more practically, if we are trying to talk about how to do a business case of employee experience, if you're listening to our podcast, you most likely know that we measure both the happiness of end users to service management, but also how much they think they lost per incident or request. And in our benchmark, if you are doing really well, your happiness score is in the level like 75. And then if you are on that level in happiness, then you are losing per ticket to 1 to 2 hours per ticket.
Yeah, maybe a little definition for the listeners who don't know it. So what we're talking about is the lost productivity. from employees with every service request or everything you go through with your service management system.
Yeah.
So every ticket, case, request, change, whatever it was, we always ask from the employees how much of your time was wasted. But please.
So
continue.
the perception of the time. But of course, now when talking about this number, it is the perception. It is not the fact number measured by.
Of course. Yeah.
But anyway, so as said, happy people losing 1 to 2 hours per each incident ticket.
Yeah.
If they are really unhappy, or the kind of the other end of our spectrum, when your happiness is on level 40, you are losing 6 to 7.5 hours. So these two, the happiness of end users and the loss productivity, they really correlate very, very heavily. So what is really the business case of employee experience? It is not how efficient you will be in IT.
Yeah.
It is how efficient the end users are in your business areas, and being able as a provider to them to prove how much time you saved from their side because of you did some digital transformation, or you changed channels, or you developed you insert your service desk, or you changed the service desk provider. But whatever was the action you did, what was the value of that to the end user experience? Because if you think about that 1 hour to 7.5 hours, you try to optimize your IT services and reduce cost in IT compared to saving 1 hour from end users. The business case is totally different.
Yeah.
Okay, perception of the time again. But anyway, if only 10 or 20% of that would be true, it is a huge business case.
Yeah, and I think the perception, we have been talking about it earlier as well, but the perception usually for the business critical services is quite accurate. Yeah. Because the second, let's say, priority systems or tools that you're using, you kind of forget it. In parallel, you are doing the important stuff. But when you have problems and productivity issues with the important stuff, then you are really reporting kind of the really high numbers that you are wasting.
But if now try to go deeper to that question that Joe did, I'll first take a kind of an overall example, and then let's go deeper to like an example of changing your reassignment counts and how to reduce that with automation. But kind of in overall, we are typically using a case for company that would have 10,000 end users.
Yeah.
We typically estimate they would have 8 tickets per employee. So they would have
per year,
80,000 tickets per year.
Yeah.
If this company would have average cost of an hour, internal hour, would be 50 euros.
Yeah.
50 per hour. If you only save 15 minutes of all those 18,000 tickets, you already save 1 million for your business. And these numbers are so enormous.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, but we are not saying that 1 million is the business case of our product. But you can prove to your business that you are now doing things that are saving time for them. So that is the overall value of your whole service management or service desk, not only measuring employee experience. And that's kind of the thing. Why you exist is because of the end users. So why not to do it for them?
Yeah, and I think like the MIT report was like double the customer satisfaction. If you make your employees more productive, they will serve your external customers faster. And that is how you actually bring value through the service management and the support services.
But let's now because now it's time for doing the planning for next year. You are budgeting for next year. And you are thinking what are the actions you want to have there. Are you renewing your service portal, or are you maybe adding chatbots, or are you maybe doing some automation work? And you're thinking about what is the business case for those. And let's use an example of the reassignment counts, because that is one thing, and that is related to the automation. So if you are automating some services, you are maybe getting rid of the reassignment counts by being able to take tickets more directly to the expert. Or get in your portal, you get more information that it goes, you are faster, you don't have to ask again and again and transfer that to another team. But you get rid of reassignments. So what we have seen in our benchmark is that every reassignment means an additional reassignment means on average that you lose 10 points in happiness, but you add 1 hour in lost productivity.
So every time you bounce a ticket from team to team, you kind of waste 50 euros because the employee needs to wait 1 hour longer.
And if you now think about it, if you are by doing some actions being able to, let's say, for 10% of your tickets, being able to reduce 1 reassignment, let the same example. You had 80,000 tickets, there is 8,000 tickets now.
Yeah.
And you reduce 1 hour.
Yeah.
I can't do the mathematics in my head, but 8,000 times 50 euros is your business case for that action. And that should be kind of the kind of thinking now when you are doing next year's budgeting, that we recommend really to start to measure as soon as possible. You understand the starting point to be able, after the whatever process you are doing, to prove the business value that there was a value, and using that along the way to motivate the team and even some cases get the money from the business, because proving that this is why you do it, this is why you need an investment for changing your ITSM tool, whatever is the what you need to do.
All right. So how would we summarize the question for Joe, the important things?
So I would say that maybe the main point is there is no business case for employee experience measurement as such separately.
Yeah.
Yes, you could think about it, that saving time, that we have ready-made surveys and all that. It's not really the case. You have to be thinking about the whole thing. You recognize areas to develop, and then you do, and being able to show the business case to your business units.
Yeah.
So there is no variety internally. I think there is no business case.
Yeah.
But the business case is to be more focused on the same things. You don't do stupid things because you are doing the same thing with your providers and your customers. You focus just on the real problems.
Yeah, and I also see it in a way that just the measurement part is not where you have the business case, it's the whole management. But you can't manage unless you measure, because then you don't know what you're getting, so how can you make a business case out of anything? All right. Is that something we want to end this episode on, or something else?
And Joe would love to hear your comments on this episode. Was this anything you asked us to do for?
Follow up on Twitter, or you can come to our LinkedIn page or whatever, ask additional questions. We'll post this episode to all the medias. And I think there were certain topics from this episode that we realized that, like automation and digital transformation. So I think those will be one of the next episodes that will open even further. How does then the measurement part and the management part fit into those? How do you really tackle those topics?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sami.
Thank you, Pasi.
Stay happy.